Y tenemos plan A, plan B, plan C para lo que decida el gobierno de los Estados Unidos. Ahora es muy importante que sepa el pueblo de México que siempre vamos a defender la dignidad de nuestro pueblo, que siempre vamos a defender el respeto a nuestra soberanía y un diálogo como iguales, como siempre lo hemos mencionado, sin subordinación. Vamos a esperar, como siempre he dicho, con la cabeza fría, tomando las decisiones, estamos preparados y mantenemos este diálogo. El día de hoy está aquí el secretario de Economía, porque es importante recordar las implicaciones que pudiera tener poner aranceles para la economía de los Estados Unidos, principalmente, para el tratado comercial de los tres países, para nuestros pueblos, pero en particular para la economía de los Estados Unidos.
Tonight, I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
This is my video update on this Sunday, midday, February the 2nd, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with a Reuters article, which is saying that the U.S. wants Ukraine to hold elections following a ceasefire, according to Trump's envoy. They're talking about Keith Kellogg, and this is a Reuters exclusive. It's an exclusive from Reuters, so you know that this is important. So let me read you what this article is saying, talking about Elensky holding elections. Yeah, the Green Goblin's not going to like that. He is not going to like that one bit. The United States wants Ukraine to hold elections potentially by the end of the year, especially if Kiev can agree a truce with Russia in the coming months, President Donald Trump's top Ukraine official told Reuters. Keith Kellogg, Trump's special envoy for Ukraine and Russia, said in an interview that Ukrainian presidential and parliamentary elections suspended during the war with Russia need to be done. That is a direct quote. Most democratic nations have elections in their time of war. I think it is important they do so, Kellogg said. I think it is good for democracy. That's the beauty of a solid democracy. You have more than one person potentially running. Since when was Ukraine a democracy? Really? Ukraine democracy? I don't know about that one, Mr. Kellogg. But yeah, elections need to be done, absolutely. Putin said the same thing just a couple of days ago in an interview with Zarubin. We talked about that on this channel. We talked about that interview on the Duran. Yeah, Putin made the case that that Elensky, according to Russia and according to the Ukraine constitution, as examined by his legal experts, is illegitimate. He should have had elections in March of 2023, right? No, 2024. In 2024, March of 2024, yeah, Elensky canceled elections. He had no right to cancel elections, no authority to cancel elections, even if he declared martial law. the parliament can remain without elections, but the president, well, you have to have elections according to Ukrainian law, according to Russia's legal experts and their interpretation of Ukrainian law. So Putin made the argument that Elensky is illegit. And you also have this decree banning Ukraine from negotiating with Putin and with Russia. And Elensky, well, he cannot rescind this decree because he's not the legitimate president of Ukraine. So he can't do it. And even if there were to be negotiations and Elensky were to sign some sort of an agreement, he's illegit. So why should anyone take his signature seriously anyway? Putin went through the whole legal case and legal arguments why Elensky has to go if there's going to be any negotiations. And here we have Kellogg giving an interview to Reuters and basically saying that Ukraine has to have elections because Elensky must go. That's what Kellogg is saying, man. Everyone knows that if there are elections, Elensky's toast, man. If you want to get to any kind of a negotiation in the conflict in Ukraine, if the Trump White House wants to get to any negotiation in Ukraine, they are starting to understand that Elensky is the big problem. The Trump administration is starting to move towards Russia's position. They're starting to realize that, this Putin guy, he's kind of got a point, right? Let's see, what else does Reuters say? The Trump plan is still evolving and no policy decisions have been made. But Kellogg and other White House officials have discussed in recent days pushing Ukraine to agree to elections as part of an initial truce with Russia. Two people with knowledge of those conversations and a former U.S. official briefed about the election proposal said. Trump officials are also debating whether to push for an initial ceasefire before trying to broker a more permanent deal. The two people familiar with the Trump administration's discussion said, if presidential elections were to take place in Ukraine, the winner could be responsible for negotiating a longer-term pact with Moscow, the people said. What a cute dog. Hey, buddy. That's a pit bull, isn't it? Looked like a pit bull. Yeah, Elensky's got to go, and maybe we can have elections. And if we have elections, we get a new president, and that president can negotiate with Russia, and we're out. We're outie 5,000. We're out of this mess. That is exactly what this Reuters article, this interview is saying. So, can the Trump administration convince Putin, convince Russia? Look, let's get elections, and when we have these elections, we'll get a new president. You guys deal with Ukraine. We're gone. All is good. Is that the plan? Sounds like that's the plan. It's not a bad plan, I guess. I don't know. If you have no leverage over Russia, if you've now understood that there's no way that you can actually get a peace deal, a ceasefire by exerting leverage on Russia, well, what do? You look at Elensky and you say, this guy's the problem. The Russians are telling us he's the problem. We understand he's the problem. With each passing day, citizens of Ukraine, the people of Ukraine, are saying he's the problem. He's got to go. If we can get rid of this guy, then we can get someone else in place. That person can deal with Russia. He can be more friendly to Russia, and we can get rid of this headache called Project Ukraine, where Trump should say Biden's war. We can get rid of this headache known as Project Ukraine, which was Biden's war, and I'm just trying to fix it. That's the messaging from Trump. Not a bad plan, not a solid plan. Reuters says it's still in the works, but it's a start. It is a start. It's definitely a signal that the Trump administration is starting to move towards Russia's position. This has got to be freaking out Elensky and freaking out the EU. So yesterday, we had some horrific news, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. This is according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. They are reporting that Ukraine fired, I believe HIMARS is what they said, into Sudzha, which is the part of the Kursk region that Ukraine is still holding on to. And they hit a boarding school where the Ukraine military was placing civilians to stay. They were taking Russian civilians. This is my understanding of what happened. And they were putting them at this boarding school. And according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, the Ukraine military fired HIMARS into this boarding school. And unfortunately, there appear to be a lot of casualties. Now, this is coming from the Russian Ministry of Defense. So this is what they're reporting. We don't have a number as far as casualties go, but the Russian UN ambassador has actually taken the case of Sudzha and the placing of civilians at these schools, calling them camps, that Ukraine has taken civilians and placing them in camps and placing them in harm's way. And they've actually taken this to the US and expressed their concern and alarm with regard to what Ukraine is doing and the placing of civilians in these boarding schools. And it looks like from Sumy, the Ukraine military hit this boarding school. Dozens of civilians were reportedly sheltering inside the targeted facility, but there is no reliable information yet on the number of casualties, according to the Kursk region's acting government, Alexander Kinstein. So we will maybe get more information as to what is happening with this story. So in Germany, the defense minister, Pistorius, he came out with a statement. He gave an interview to German media and came out with a statement saying that there is absolutely no freaking way that Germany can increase NATO spending to 5%. In other words, Germany will not be able to fulfill or agree with Trump's requirement for NATO spending. That is what the defense minister of Germany said. The outgoing defense minister of Germany rejects Trump's military spending demand. Berlin will not spend almost half of its federal budget on defense, Boris Pistorius has said. He explained that 5% of our GDP would correspond to 42% of the federal budget. That would be almost every second euro spent by federal government, 230 billion euros. We could neither afford that nor spend that. Germany's in trouble, man. You know what Trump said? He said if you can't up it to 5%, then the U.S. is not going to protect you. The U.S. has a huge military presence in Germany. The U.S. has a huge military presence all over the EU, all over Europe. They have a huge military presence in Greece. Massive military presence in Greece, which really ramped up over the past couple of years. The U.S. military presence in Germany, in Europe, it's not about protecting Europe. It's not about protecting Europe. It's about controlling Europe. That's what it's about. So if Trump says 5%, Germany's going to have a hard time resisting these demands from Trump. Very hard time. If Trump says tariffs, how is the EU going to retaliate when you have the U.S. enforcement, the military enforcement right there on your territory? The U.S. military is there to enforce any policy that is coming from the United States and from the President of the United States towards Europe or towards the EU. That's why the military is in Europe. It's not for protection. It's for control and power. So Germany's going to be in big trouble. Very big trouble. Olaf Scholz was giving an interview to German TV. I don't know what channel this was, but he was talking about how Germany has spent 12 or 15 billion euros in Project Ukraine, where they have a deficit of 12 to 15 billion euros because of what they've spent on Project Ukraine. And I think he said 15 billion. I forgot what he said. Anyway, it was a big amount. It was a big amount. And he basically said that if Germany cannot get a credit for this money, I imagine he's talking about the European Union giving Germany 15 billion. But if Germany can't get the 15 billion back, then he's going to have to cut pensions and investment in social services and healthcare and infrastructure. He's coming out with all of this a couple of weeks before elections. Yeah, you know that money that we spent on Ukraine? Well, now we've got a big freaking hole. We're losing the conflict. We've lost the conflict. It's all gone to crap, the entire conflict. Our regime change goals of getting rid of Putin, defeating Russia, forget about all of that. Elensky's a clown. We've spent all this money. We've got a huge hole. We need the money back from the European Union, and they're not going to give it back to us. So what we're going to do is we are going to most likely have to cut spending on the citizens of Germany, on infrastructure and healthcare and stuff like that. Well done, pirate. Well done, Pirate Scholz. So the tariff wars is an interesting seeding area. They have begun. The tariff wars have begun. It's like Star Wars episode 2, the Clone Wars, the tariff wars. That's right. Canada and Mexico, they came out with announcements yesterday saying that, hey buddy, saying that they are retaliating. They are retaliating against the United States of America. And it's interesting because they have different retaliation plans. They really do have different retaliation plans. Mexico's retaliation is called Plan B. And it's a mix of tariffs and other measures to avoid escalation. So that's the approach that Mexico has taken. They're going to retaliate with some tariffs. They're also going to do some other things. But their goal is to avoid escalation. Trudeau in Canada, they're taking a more direct approach, and they're going to retaliate against Trump dollar for dollar, head on. They're going to take the United States head on. So this is what we got from Mexico. In response, Sheinbaum, the leader of Mexico, has instructed the Ministry of Economy to implement the Plan B that we have been working on, which includes tariff and non-tariff measures in defense of Mexico's interests. While details have not been disclosed, sources indicate that Mexico aims to impose measures targeting key U.S. industries, particularly agriculture, while seeking to avoid further escalation. It sounds like it's a good plan. You retaliate. Why do I have such a problem saying that word? Because I can't talk. I can't speak. Anyway, you retaliate against the United States with some tariffs, but you also do other things, always with the message to the Trump administration, look, let's not escalate. Let's work this thing out. Sounds reasonable to me. Some alien markings. An alien civilization that once landed in Nicosia, Cyprus. They've left their mark. I don't know what this is. To be a maze? Maybe this is a maze, I guess. Like The Shining? How do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? Anyway, Canada, dollar for dollar, they're going to take the U.S. head on. The foreign minister of Canada, Melanie Joly, she posted on X, Canadians have been nothing but the strongest allies and the best neighbors to the United States. These tariffs are completely unjustifiable, and Canadians are united in the face of this economic threat. Canada will not back down. They really need to drop this "we're buddies, we're pals" line of arguments. This argument. Don't place tariffs on us because we're buddies. This has got to stop. Trudeau needs to retire this line of thinking. There are no friendships, only interests. When you're talking about geopolitics, politics in general, there's no such thing as friendship. It is interests. That's it. And so this whole, we're friends, we're buddies, we're pals. How can you do this to us? This is the ideology of, this is the globalist ideology that you're seeing come through in the Trudeau administration. And it needs to end because Trump is not thinking like this. He's not thinking in terms of this is some sort of ideological quest that all of us as globalists are on. So we have to adhere to the globalist neo-lib religion, even if it hurts our country, if it helps our country, it doesn't matter. We're all one. We're all one, united in the globalist Klaus Schwab eats them bugs ideology. This is over. It's over, man. We're going back to interests, national interests. When Trump says America first, he means America first, right? And America first means that other countries are going to be second and third. And so what Trudeau has to do is he has to take a Canada first policy position, but like Mexico, try to avoid escalation. Try to figure out a way for Canada to come out of this thing with a win, some sort of win, while avoiding escalation. 77%, I was reading 77%, one sec, of all Canadian exports go to the United States. 17% of America's exports go to Canada. Not a good position to be in if you're Trudeau. Never commit 100% to anything. Never. 100%, don't do it. Commit 100% to a marriage, to your family, but everything else, don't commit 100%, man. You don't invest 100% in one stock, do you? No. You hedge your bets, always, because you never know. You never know. I always say this with Greece and with Cyprus. The biggest mistake that they've made over the past 3 years is they've gone 100% in with the collective West, with the European Union, with the US, 100%. Where in the past, Cyprus and Greece, they had a foreign policy, a geopolitical strategy of being 70% with the West and keeping 30% with Russia, with China. They were never fully 100%. And that was a smart policy. That's been abandoned. 77 is a lot. Too high. Too high. What Trudeau should have done many months ago, probably many years ago, what he should have done is he should have worked to diversify, to try and figure out ways to open up cooperation, partnership, trade with other countries, other regions outside of the US. Just my thoughts. Maybe that was impossible. I don't know. Maybe it was not realistic to do that. But now you have a big problem. 77 going into the US percent and 17% from the US into Canada. Melanie Jolly also posted on X, "It was a pleasure to speak with the EU High Representative, Kaja Kallas, stunning and brave. Yesterday, we spoke about how Canada and the EU can continue to address today's global issues, including Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine and the situation in the Middle East." Give it up, man. Just give it up, Melanie Joly. Enough Ukraine, enough of this stuff. Focus on Canada, man. Focus on Canada and the United States and stop calling the European Union and Kaja, especially Kaja Kallas. God knows that they have no way of helping you. The European Union and Kaja Kallas have no clue how to help Canada or how to deal with Trump's tariffs. They're going to get their own tariffs, the European Union. Their own tariffs are coming from the Trump White House. So you're calling up Kaja Kallas to talk about Project Ukraine. Just let it go, man. Just let it go. Forget about it. You lost. It's over. Don't talk about it anymore. If I was Trudeau, if I was the Prime Minister of Canada, I would give an order to the foreign ministry, and I would say, from now on, I don't want you to talk about Ukraine. I don't want you to say the word Ukraine, Zelensky. Just don't talk about it. We need to focus on what we're going to do with the U.S. All hands on deck, man. Oh, boy. Yeah, Melanie Jolly and Kaja Kallas. She's going to provide answers. Oh, man. All right. USAID website is down. Their X account is also down. USAID is going down. I'm going down. They are going down, man. Politico, Trump is wreaking havoc at USAID. It is the goal to shut it down. The president's failure to name a USAID administrator and other steps seem to suggest that, at the very least, he'll fold USAID into the State Department. USAID. One time led by Samantha Power, the regime change queen, the regime change angel of death. That's right. When she came to your country, you knew you were in trouble, in big trouble. Your government was in big trouble when she paid a visit to your country. When USAID decided to focus on your country, yeah, you've been targeted for regime change. Now, USAID is being taken apart, maybe even folded into the State Department. This is Drain the Swamp. I mean, this is a lot more of Drain the Swamp than what we got in 2016. You have to admit that. Whatever your thoughts are about Trump, you have to admit, you have to concede that taking apart USAID and all the color revolutions and the regime change operations, this is draining the swamp. You have to concede that. You have to concede that. We'll see where all of this goes. But here's what Politico says. Already, Trump has frozen billions in foreign aid funding, hitting a vast number of USAID programs, put some 60 senior career USAID officials on leave, and fired or furloughed hundreds of contractors, and failed to name an administrator for USAID, while allowing a State Department-based official to effectively oversee the agency, which is increasingly in turmoil. But the steps already taken suggest that, at the very least, a smaller, weaker version of USAID is to come, even if the agency is never officially deleted on paper, which would almost certainly require sign-offs from Congress. It could become smaller and more politicized without the ability to direct its own agenda. Oh, that last line from Politico. Very, very interesting, huh? Without the ability to direct its own agenda. This is the definition of the deep state, of the permanent state. All of these institutions and organizations doing their own thing. A government, within a government, within a government, under a government, above a government, however you want to look at it. USAID was its own little government, its own little fiefdom, doing its own thing, its own agenda. Now they're worried that it's not going to be able to do that anymore. It's going to be downsized. It's going to be folded under the State Department. It's going to be much weaker. And it won't be able to direct its own agenda. Interesting moves from the Trump administration. I did not see him going after USAID. This I did not see. We'll see how all of this plays out. Musk was given access to the U.S. Treasury, the U.S. Treasury accounts, the system. He was given access to this. Very controversial, but he does head up Doge, and he's looking to cut spending and to make the U.S. government more efficient. And I guess if you're going to do that, the first place to look is in the books, the U.S. Treasury. See what they're spending stuff on, see how they're spending. And he's been given access to the system. Musk gains full access to U.S. Treasury system. The billionaire expects his Department of Government Efficiency audit to face extreme opposition from the grifters. That's a quote from Musk. The Doge team discovered, among other things, that payment approval officers at Treasury were instructed always to approve payments, even to known fraudulent or terrorist groups. They literally never denied a payment in their entire career, not even once. This was a post that Musk made on X, basically saying that the Treasury would give money to anybody, including terrorist groups. Wow, quite an admission from Musk, huh? Whenever they were directed to make a payment, they just made the payments. Send the money to Al-Qaeda, send the money to HTS, send the money here, send the money there. And they were just sending that money, man. This is an audit. This is the beginnings of an audit. What are they going to find? My God, what are they going to find? People must be freaking out. Oh, I can't wait till they get to the line item known as Project Ukraine. Oh my God. Elensky, oh, whoa. We gave him how much? That's what Elon Musk is going to say. We gave him what? He's richer than me. That's what Elon Musk is going to say. I thought I was the richest person in the world. No, you're not, Elon Musk. You're the second richest person in the world. The richest person in the world is the Green Goblin. Oh boy, J.D. Vance posted on X. Memo to the press. When a president is elected by the people and then does what he promised to do, that's democracy. When a president is thwarted by unelected bureaucrats, that's oligarchy. President Trump refuses to bend the knee to that oligarchy. Buckle up. Buckle up. If they really follow through with this audit, now, I just want to say that it is very controversial to have Musk in the books. I recognize that. I think everyone should recognize that. But that's the deal. So if he really does start to perform a real audit, then yeah, I agree with Vance. Buckle up, man. Buckle up big time. So yesterday, Trump authorized strikes into Somalia, which he claims hit an IS group. This morning, I ordered precision military airstrikes on the senior ISIS attack planner and other terrorists he recruited and led in Somalia. These killers, who we found hiding in caves, threatened the United States and our allies. The strikes destroyed the caves they live in and killed many terrorists without in any way harming civilians. Okay. Our military has targeted this ISIS attack planner for years, but Biden and his cronies wouldn't act quickly enough to get the job done. I did. The message to ISIS and all others who would attack Americans is that we will find you and we will kill you. Now, I don't know who this planner is. I don't think it's been announced. I don't think we have any idea what's going on. I didn't even see this one coming. But, okay, maybe there was ISIS. Probably, most definitely there was ISIS in Somalia in some caves, and they took them out. But I'm looking at this as more of low-hanging fruit in a way. A big win, a quick, easy, big win for the Department of Defense, for the U.S. military, for the Pentagon, for Hegseth. That's what this looks like to me. I'm not saying that there was not IS in Somalia. I'm sure there was, but and I'm sure they were getting money from the treasury. I don't know, but this is low-hanging fruit, an easy big win for the new Department of Defense, and it's a good trusted go-to from Trump, because he talked about IS in previous campaigns and in his first term and in his campaign in 2020. That was his go-to line when it came to foreign policy. I'm the one that dismantled IS. I'm the one that destroyed them. I defeated them. So he kind of returns back to this because it's a trusted talking point, a big easy win. That's how I look at this. And it's a good way, it is a good way to distract from Ukraine. I think that's very important for the Trump administration to do. Not make Ukraine top of the agenda. Push it down. It may be top of the agenda. I think geopolitically it's at the very top. But for the Trump administration, in your marketing, in your messaging, in your media optics, what you want to do is you want to push it down. You want to push it down so that when you do talk to Putin, it's one of many items on the agenda. We're going to have elections. We'll have a new president. Ukraine will let you sort it out. President Putin, you'll figure it out. Let's just get rid of Elensky, put someone else in place. Now let's talk about some other stuff, some more important stuff, like nukes and security architecture in Europe and these things. That's how you want to kind of frame the conversation and the negotiations going forward. Anyway, let's do some clown worlds, and we will stick with Ukraine and with Elensky. And he was giving an interview the other day, and he said, I can't confirm this 100%, but this is the quote that's coming out. He said, Putin can defeat the whole world, but not Ukraine. Putin can defeat the whole world, but not Ukraine. That is what Elensky said. My God. If this is true, then man, Elensky, you really need to stay off of that stuff that you're doing, man. I don't know what to tell you, bro. What a crazy, ridiculous quote from Elensky. He is losing it. With each passing day, he's losing it. He's starting to understand that his position is becoming very dangerous. He is in trouble. I think he's starting to realize this. The Rada, they came out with a statement, the Ukraine parliament, after Tucker called Elensky a dictator when he was speaking with Pierce, I Love Dictators, Morgan. he was saying that Elensky is a dictator, and he made a very good, very obvious, simple case as to why Elensky is a dictator. And the Ukraine parliament actually came out with a statement and said that this is the beginning of the campaign by the Trump administration to remove Elensky. Tucker's very close with Trump. So when Tucker says that Elensky's a dictator, you know that Trump is listening and he's hearing all of this. And he's listening to what Tucker is saying and the case that Tucker's making. And then he's listening to Pierce Morgan, who is saying, okay, maybe he's a dictator, but I love dictators. I like this dictator. Other dictators I don't like, but this dictator, I really like him, right? Trump's listening to all of this. The route is worried. It is very worried. But Elensky, he also said in this interview that he believes the way forward to getting a negotiation with Project Ukraine is that he should first talk to Trump. His team should talk to the Trump White House. They should all be on the same page. And then he would like Ukraine and Trump and the Europeans and the UK and the EU, Ursula and Stammer and Macron. He wants them all to approach a thing attached to my leg. It was following me. He wants them all to approach Putin together. That's Zelensky's plan. Trump, Ursula, Macron, Stammer, they all need to meet, and then together, unified, they need to approach the Putin. That is what Elensky said. Not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe it will happen. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think you're going towards elections, Elensky, whether you like it or not. Anyway, that's the video, theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like what I'm wearing in this video update, this Duran hoodie. The link is in the description box down below. We've got free shipping for all orders over $70. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. Maybe I can get to 220,000 subscribers in the next 5 years at the rate that I'm going. But anyway, I will see everybody tomorrow. Take care.